Hi, I'm so glad you're here and just wanted to give you all a little content note and say that this episode mentions self-harm. Take good care. For more than 2 decades, I have written in a diary almost every single day. And guess what? I saved them all. Each week, I will be reading from these archives and getting to know myself from the lens of my 10, 16, 25, and 36-year-old self. We'll explore big topics such as body image, queerness, divorce, addiction, mental health, and friendship. I'll read cringy poems and attempt to find compassion for the painful tenderness of my younger self. Join the drama of me and my guests as we explore our boy-crazy, closeted, angsty selves, one stupid page at a time. Hello, beautiful humans. It's Friday, and I have an unplanned day off, which is amazing. I don't know if I want to call it a plan yet, but I have an idea of how I can make every weekend of the summer a long weekend, which is very exciting for somebody who worked in the wedding industry for a decade. And I worked every weekend for a long, long time. So now the fact that I'm taking weekends off from my writing gig and also maybe going to start taking Fridays off or Mondays, I'm excited. It's very sunny and spring-like where I live today at the day of recording this. So I'm going to be taking the afternoon off to go for a hike with Shiva and his dog. And then we're going to make some barbecue because that's how much we are begging for spring and summer to get here. I am returning to 2004. We took a little detour the last couple weeks to read from my travel diaries, but I'm returning to 2004. Again, I'm in 10th grade. I am in my first real relationship with a boy who's a couple years older than me, who I've already introduced. I have recently lost my virginity. I am partying my face off every weekend, doing a lot of drinking and a lot of smoking weed. My boyfriend and I are in a codependent, anxiously attached dynamic. And yeah, reading back on a couple diaries so far, I was like, I don't remember it being that bad. I've always looked back on my relationship with Gert with like, I think what feels like a lot of fondness. I mean, I look at it, I thought from a very realistic lens of like, we were young, we were, in teenage love. If you can even like truly know what love is when you're that age, I don't know. But we were definitely like in lust, and a lot of our relationship revolved around like partying and sex and fighting and then making up, and the cycle repeats itself. But even though I know that logically, even like for my entire life, every time I've thought back on this relationship, which to be honest isn't that often, but when I do, I'm never thinking, oh, that guy was the worst, or like, oh, that dynamic was so unhealthy. But now that I'm reading these journals from like, 20 years later, from hopefully a more mature lens, I am like, yikes, that was kind of intense. I've recently had the chance to like talk to a couple friends that I'm still in touch with from that time, and they were all like, yeah, that relationship was fucked. But again, I think the fact that I don't feel particularly like wounded from that time is a good thing. Maybe it's just me kind of like a willing ignorance, whatever. But I also think like my relationship with this person was kind of sandwiched between, two really traumatic events. So the fact that like the relationship was maybe a bit traumatic in itself, like doesn't feel as impactful. Right before I met Gert, or like started dating Gert, I was sexually assaulted, which I've shared on the podcast. You can go back and listen to those episodes, but it was an assault that took place when I was 14 or 15, I think 15. And I completely blocked it out for like literally 2 decades. I didn't even let myself remember that it had happened until I was like in my early 30s. And it was in a poetry workshop of all things, where I kind of like remembered some details, and that led me down this path of like finally talking about it in therapy and covering it, and going back and reading those diaries from around the time that I was assaulted was really, really hard, because I can see even in my writing, like I write about the event, I write about like how it happened and what happened after. And the person who assaulted me continued to be a part of my friend group and my life, I guess, because again, I was in such denial of it happening. The assault was a direct result of, it was a direct result of like an asshole assaulting me. But it was also one of my first really negative experiences involving alcohol, which of course I didn't see until years and years and years later. But so that was the first kind of traumatic event. And then I shortly after I met Gert, started dating Gert, started having like more positive sexual experiences. And then the event that like kind of bookends mine and his relationship, which I'm not going to reveal yet, but like it is one of the, for sure, one of the worst things that's ever happened to me or to someone I love. And so I think because my relationship with him is kind of like sandwiched between these two like massive life events, the stuff that happened in the middle, I think felt more peaceful to me and more nourishing and more generative and more calm, even though, again, when I read these diaries, I'm like, oh, it was not those things. Okay. I think a lot of people can probably relate to this if you're listening and you have your own version of this like intense teenage relationship that, resulted in you having a lot of firsts. You can probably resonate with what I'm talking about. It's interesting because a few of my friends have like preteens or teenage kids now, and they're dating and entering into these dynamics. And I'm like, one thing that I know for sure is like my parents, especially my dad, like really tried to stop me from dating Gert and getting more involved with him. I'm pretty sure my dad like threw a party in his head when I told him we had broken up. Because I think he knew that, like, I think people could see really clearly that the dynamic between us was really unhealthy. But obviously it was something I had to go through. Again, the way that I've always viewed the relationship is like, it didn't cause me serious harm, unlike some of the things, other things that happened like in when I was around that age. So the relationship itself didn't cause me so much harm. But now, like, again, I'm starting to see that, like, there was some harmful things. When I ended the last episode that I recorded from 2004, I was thinking to myself, like, okay, what I'll probably do for the next section of podcast is I will take whatever diary material I have left from 2004 and 5, like the rest of mine and Gert's relationship, and I will summarize it and make it one episode, because like I don't think that much happened was my, again, impression. So this morning I was like, okay, I have to organize like I was thinking two diaries between like when the last one ended March or May 2004 to like summer 2005. I have to like summarize these, maybe 2 journals. I'm laughing, of course, because just from May 2004 to the end of 2004, there's 3 full diaries that are thick. So I think it's fair to say that a lot of stuff actually did happen during those 2 years that I actually fully don't and can't remember. So you're going to come on the journey with me while I unpack the rest of mine and Gert's relationship. And I think you're probably going to be as surprised as I am, because I have not read these diaries. I haven't read these diaries ever. Like, I've never gone back and read from this particular time. So I'm really curious to be like, what happened? What was the dynamic really like? What was going on in my inner psyche? So again, you guys are going to come along for the journey. I have not pre-read these. And so all I can really say is like, buckle up. I'm mentally preparing myself. All right. So right out the gate, first journal entry is May 25th, 2004. In the front of this diary is this piece of paper that is, I don't know. I think my sister drew it. I might have drawn it, but I'm not sure. And it just is like this graffiti kind of font that just says Yoda loves Gurnt. Actually, it says Yoga, which maybe was my sister's nickname for me. I'm unsure. So I'm like, I think my sister and me were both dating a best friend couple. So like me and Gert were dating and my sister and Fraser were dating and we were all like besties. And it was like a really fun, filled with laughter and silliness and goofiness time is, again, my memory. So May 25th, 2004. I start this with you. I sign it with love always, Yoda, which I think is cute. So you. Gurnt just left. I was sad to see him go. The time we spent flew by because we were just having so much fun. We always do. That's what I love. That no matter what we're doing, going to fancy places like prom, to going to Jay's, to going to family gatherings, to lying in my bed, reading to each other, to getting high, to sneaking in and getting caught, to just hanging out. It's always such a good time, and I always feel comfortable and good. Smiley face. We laughed a lot, with Genevieve especially. He asked if we had any cookies, but we had none, so I made her make him some. Ha ha. Then me and Gert looked at pictures. I gave him the homemade picture frame I made him and read to him from my journal. And then we went for a walk and got high. Me and Gert had a super amount of fun. I love him so much. I mean, seems pretty pure. Seems pretty pure. Okay, so May 28th. 2004. This is some foreshadowing. This is important. Remember this detail. First of all, I start this entry by saying I did my project all night. Legalize marijuana all the way. I'm pretty sure I was doing a project on like why we should legalize marijuana, which is obviously hilarious and very on brand. Hello, doggo. Oh, my sweet doggy is coming to join us. I'm sure you can hear her nails click-clacking. And now you can maybe hear her breathing directly into the mic. Oh my gosh, you're so cute. All right, let me deal with this. Could go back and re-record, but don't want to because my dog's cute as fuck. So let's continue. Okay, so keep this in your back pocket. So May 28th, I say, on Thursday, I went to work and then had Gurnt over. I wonder where I was working then. I didn't have a car, so I'm not sure where I was working then. We hung out with Genevieve for a while. Then we went to my room and I gave him the gift that I made him. And then I draw a little diagram. So I bought this wooden box that was from what was then called White Rose, which is now Michael's craft store. And I bought this like high quality wooden box, like about the size of a shoebox, but square. And on the top, I painted all sides of it with like things he loved and glitter and like multicolored. I put one of his favorite song titles on each of the four sides. And on the top, I wrote, Yoda loves Gurnt forever. Inside jokes on the rim. And on the bottom, I wrote, I completely, totally am 100% in love with you. So keep that in mind. I said he loved it. He kissed me really, really gratefully. I'll never forget it. I mean, of course he did. That's a great gift. So then we had sex here. We were lying there and I whispered to him that I wanted it, but he was scared of getting busted. I pouted, so he undid his belt and said, "Take off your pants." Haha, it was cool. Then we lied here and I rubbed his back and played a song on him for an hour until he had to go. Okay, that's first part of this entry, okay? Also, sorry to my parents. Friday, and then I write, Friday was a good day. I hung out with Shauna, had lunch with Katie. I really wanted the day to end, so I went to work off the bus, came home and called Gert. At first, I couldn't get a hold of him, so I waited around until he called. Gert called. I asked what the plan was. He said we couldn't hang out at his house again because his parents weren't home. Then he got a beep, which, I mean, at that time was probably call waiting. When he came back online, he said, "Hi." And I said, "You got bad news?" He said, "I can't hang out with you until later." And I was like, "Oh, why? You got something to do?" He said, "I'm being forced." And I said, "To do what? I can come over and help." He said, "No, I gotta go to Magoo's." Honestly, I was fine with that. He hasn't seen his friend in a long time, and I understand. Even though I was a little disappointed, I tried to sound upbeat when we said goodbye. He said loud and clear, "I'll meet you later at Jay's." Okay, so it's Friday night. I have done my whole school day. I've gone to work. I've rushed home, called my boyfriend being like, "What are we doing tonight?" We make some plans. He then gets call waiting, comes back and says, "I have to go hang out with my friend, but I'll meet you at the party later." That's what goes down. So I said, I went to Jay's thinking that Gert would already be there. It was just Nick and Jay, though. I smoked a doobie with them, talked about bongo. Yeah, I think that says bongo. Talked about bongo. I don't know what that means. Oh, no, it says talked about songs. Talked about songs. Nick left and Lou came over. We all got high. I did some buckets. More people came, and me and Jay hung out and caught up on stuff, watched TV, played video games, and sang. So 1 a.m. came, then 2 a.m., and there was no Gert. I don't know what's up with that, but it makes me kind of worried. Maybe he got really wasted or hurt or arrested. Or maybe his friends just pressured him and told him not to be whipped and to hang out with them instead. Maybe he just forgot about me. Or maybe it's my fault. Maybe he saw that I didn't wave to him when I saw him walking. Maybe he thought I was mad. Maybe he just didn't want to see me. Either way, it's not like him and it makes me feel like shit. What did I do wrong? So, as you can see, we can't only blame Gert for the severe anxious attachment cycle. You know, in previous entries that I've read, I've definitely shared that it was often him that was getting mad at me for these little things. But in this case, I'm being very anxious. The next day I write a bit about interacting with a friend, and then I say, I'm still worried. Gert still hasn't called. This is so not like him. I don't know why I don't just call him. I'm worried something happened to him or that he's mad at me. It's just so weird how miserable I am when I feel like he's mad at me or not okay. I don't know what to do. I miss him. I'm spiraling. I want the phone to ring right now and have him explain why he blew me off last night and tell me that everything's okay and that he wants to see me tonight. My nerves hurt. Yeah, so let's find out what happened. Let's find out the scoop. May 30th. You. So shortly after writing that last entry, I got a call from Gert. I heard Genevieve call him and say, "Please call Yoda, she's sad." Because I always do that to her when she misses Fraser. So he called, asked how I was. Then I asked if I Then he asked if I was going to be down tonight, and I said, yeah, eventually. And that was it. So I moped around a little, and then I walked to town. I smoked half a cigarette on the way. It calmed me a lot. I walked to Jay's. I saw Magoo and some people on the way and waved. It seems like they hate me. Again, this is like, on the, where I lived on the street, like I lived in the country at the end of this road. And to walk to town, I had to walk about like 2 kilometers down this dirt road. And then there was like the little village. And on the way, like, you know, there's some houses and some people that I knew. And this guy is friends with Gurnt, like outside of our relationship. And I just, I get the vibes that his friends don't like me. It was very hot at Jay's. Like, I'm assuming I mean in temperature. It's only May, so that seems a bit weird, but I said hi to everyone. And then Gurnt came up to me and said hi. I'm really sorry about last night, he said. Actually, I'm gonna read this the way it's written. So Gurnt, I'm really sorry about last night. Me. Are you? Gurnt. Mm-hmm. I didn't think you wanted to talk to me. Me. So you just blew me off? Gurnt. I didn't blow you off. Me. Yes, you did. You said you were going to be at Jay's, and you weren't, and I waited around for you, and you didn't show. Gurnt. I am so, so sorry. We went for a walk, sat down, and he apologized again a few times. I told him it was okay and tried to lighten the mood. Then, once everything was good, we went out and got high. We went back to Jay's and jammed, played video games, watched TV, talked. We smoked an oil joint and got really blazed. Then they left, and it was just me and Gurnt and Jay, so we smoked another. I passed out. I woke up, and Gurnt was beside me. It was nice, like back in the day. Yeah, so like as you can see, there's literally zero conflict resolution. I mean, I guess he apologized, but like we didn't, like nothing is solved. Nothing is solved here. I said we left Jay's around 8 a.m. Ugh. And we figured that his mom would be gone for work. She was home though. So we went in and hung out downstairs. We played Grand Theft Auto and made jokes and had fun. What a strange life. Like, stay out all night at a party, get so baked that I passed out, wake up at 8 a.m., sometime around 8 a.m., walk back to my boyfriend's house with him. His mom is a nurse and is, like, getting ready to leave for work. We go in the basement and play video games. Wow. Love it. His mom was then... his mom was going to work, so we were just going to leave and come back when we knew she was gone, but we ended up just not going back. We ended up not going back for an hour. We spent our time sitting in the middle of the soccer field at the park in the grass. We lied together and made out and rolled around. And he had me going and was playing with my boobs. It was very hippie of us. Whatever that means, okay. Yeah, so we smoked another joint and got nicely toasted. We went back to his house. I made him breakfast in bed. He played mandolin. We fucked around a lot. And he said that he looked at me and said, "I love you, Yoda." We were sweating and laughing and being very happy. All is good. What the fuck? Oh my god. Can anyone out there relate to this shit? Like, did anyone have this experience in 2004-ish times? Please validate me. May 31st. You. I am so lucky. I know it. I hope I never forget it. I am so, so lucky to have Gurnt. So much luckier than Genevieve, who is with the boy she's loved for her whole life. And luckier than Kelly and Ryan and Bevan and Laura. And even better than Amanda and Graham. Because Gurnt is such a good guy. Even though we sometimes don't get along, we would never hurt each other. Sometimes I see Graham hurt Amanda to get her attention, or I see Genevieve and Fraser so miserable even when they're mean to each other. I see couples like Heather and Sunny and Shannon and Alex and Tyler and Sam, and it just makes me feel so much bigger than life. I see how Laura treats Shane and how Aaron treats Ivan, and I just makes me feel so incredibly grateful that I have a boyfriend who kisses me almost every time he sees me, and someone who almost always smiles real big when we see each other between classes, and someone who still, after 6 months, tells me I'm pretty in thoughtful ways and draws me pictures and writes me letters and calls to say hello and hangs out with me and expects nothing. And I am so lucky that I have a guy who is free-spirited and a stoner and a hippie just like me. I'm lucky to have a guy who appreciates me and respects me and lets me do my own thing and laughs at my jokes. I'm so incredibly lucky to be so in love with him. Wow, that's a lot. I was feeling him. I was feeling the relationship. I also want to say that I don't know I can literally pinpoint who 2 of the couples are in that, and the rest of them, like, I don't even know who any of these people are. Not a clue. The next day, June 1st, I write, you. I can't get my mind off the thought that everyone is talking about me right now. Everyone is saying shit about me, saying that I'm a bitch, a poser, a bad memory. Oh, a bad memory. And even worse, Gert, what he might be telling them about me. And then in big letters, I write, don't be crazy. They're not talking about you. You're not worth talking about. Plus, they're your best friends, and they wouldn't do that. So, quite a turn. The next day, I'm feeling low. I go from feeling super high and lucky to feeling super duper low, literally overnight. The next day, I write, I feel pathetic sometimes. Days like today, when I've eaten way too much and smoked too much with my wimpy tokes, and think of all the things I've wasted. Days like today when I talk to Graham and realize how much I truly miss him, more than I have ever missed anyone in my whole entire life, and how I miss Jason, and even though I see him weekly, it's like he lives a million miles away, and how much I miss Nathan, and how much I fear, or when I hear his voice, and I smile because it feels like home. I miss my boys, like what I had with Jay and A and Corey and Mavis and John. Maybe I just lack Gert. So yeah, I'm going down a bit of a dark road. Let's see what happens on this dark road. June 4th, just a few days later. On Wednesday, Gert was being weird at school. In the morning, he didn't say much, and he made me worry all day. There were so many shitty parts of the day, honestly, just so many fights, sad face, or little arguments. I was so frustrated. He came on the bus with me and promised he'd come over later. Eventually, he came over. I met him halfway. He asked me right away, "Do you not like getting high with me anymore?" He was just so not himself. I asked him what was wrong so many times, and it was so useless because all he said was nothing. We were okay for a while, though. I told him how I felt bad, and he said sorry. Me and him and Fraser had a session, and then we all went to our rooms. It was weird here, too, but I made it better. I sat on top of him, and we kissed, and it ended up being fine. I thought everything was good. I wore my hair down for him and my green pants for him and gave him a huge, big, long kiss in the morning. But all day it was just weird with us, and it made me totally miserable. I skipped third period and got high with first him and Crystal and Chris, and then all other, oh, so, and then all the other lunches, I was so baked. So, sorry, the day ended with him promising that we'd hang out. So I called him, but had to wait for him to have dinner. During our phone conversation, he apologized. He told me that I do so much for him and that he loved me and that everything would be better soon. So I went to Dana's because she was in town. She looks good, happy. We smoked a few bowls and then I went to Gern's. When I got there, his mom and him were screaming at each other, so loud and so meanly. I definitely had no clue what to do there. Gern's stormed out and we walked here. I gave him a 4-leaf clover on the way and told him I'd make him feel good. We came home and he told me I was taking his mind off everything. I gave him an hour-long massage. Today, though, didn't go like I hoped. We didn't fight. When he first saw me, he just said how hot I looked and complimented me all day and told me he needed me. But I simply did not feel right today. I came home so sad, thinking of how Gert thinks I'm lame. It makes me wonder if I do enough for him or if I do anything at all for him. It makes me so, so sad. I came home and just cried. Mind games. Like, mind games. It's, yeah, the next day I write, you. Last night was weird. I started remembering all the things I had before Gert. Some of them I miss. Some of them I don't really. But who am I kidding? I miss them all. Like last night I went to Jay's. I came in and sat down and chilled. We sat around talking. And I noticed myself laughing. And then I wrote something about what my dad said. It's strange how my dad told me when I was like 12 that someday I'd come home on a motorcycle with you. Haha. I don't know what that's about, but anyways. So then I chilled for a while at home. I got ready to go to Mavis's. I didn't really debate going. I knew I had to go because I'd promised Graham. I got a ride at about 8. Okay, so this is a friend not from my like circle in my town, but from school. I'm going to a house party with a bunch of friends who are like my age and that I socialized with at school. We got there. Mavis showed me around. It's a cool place to party, that's for sure. I said hi to everybody and then got high with Chimpy, Pritam, and his woman, Ferris, who I just met. I said hi to everyone else. Graham gave me a big hug and said how much he missed me. It was so, so, so nice to see him. So basically, I'm convinced to go to this party because my friends at school miss me. All I'm doing is hanging out with my new boyfriend. So I promised him I go to this party and I go. We blazed out back. I gave 2 joints and we hit the lung. Everyone else went back and went to the pool, but me and Chimpy and Ben blazed again. I was so, that's 7 so's, stoned. But it was weird because I got paranoid. I was running around their house with no one to really chill with. Katie was all fucked up and cooking like mad. Everyone else went swimming. Amanda and Graham were alone. So I just sat down and got all shaky and let myself get overly fucked up. It was weird and I didn't like it. I ended up going outside with Mavis and talked for an hour or so. He was ignoring his girlfriend, kind of. I hope I wasn't the reason why. He told me he was here for me, though, and that was really cool of him. I really wish I would have got to chill with Graham more and that Amanda and him didn't fight so much. I hated being by myself all night. I miss Gert. So, yeah, I greened out at a party. And I actually remember that night because I got to the party. I mentioned that like I asked for a ride at 8. So my dad probably, maybe my mom, but most likely my dad would have had to drive me from like home to this party. And then a few hours later I called and was like, I need you to come pick me up because I was freaking out. And then I'm pretty sure I got really sick when I got home. So It's not all glitz and glamour or something. All right, a couple days later, June 6th. You. Last night was really, really good. I was sad before I left. I was thinking of Gert and everything else that's been going on, and I just got sad. I walked to his house, had very low expectations just because the last few days, and because he didn't sound excited at all to see me. I got there around 5. We were all alone at his house, so we sat in his living room for a little while and talked about our nights. So basically, the night before, I had gone to this party at Mavis's, and he had gone to a different party, so we were conferring. Anyways, he gave me a piece of paper, told me to read it later, and then snatched it and ran to his room. I chased it, and he threw me down on the bed and saying, "You have to find the letter." So I undressed him. It was playful. I undressed myself while I was at it, and even though I wasn't totally sure that I was past the last few days of madness, we did it. It was really nice, and I love what he does to me. We lay around and ended up doing it again. He left me in a trance, sort of. After that, he got markers out and drew all over my back, drew a peace sign, a yin-yang, a flower, some music stuff, a clover. It was really... relaxed. I thought it said waxed. I was really relaxed and happy to be with him. I drew on his back after and drew a so-so sign and a backwards 420. It was late, and we decided not to go to Jay's. Instead, we got naked again, and he told me he wanted to make love to me. So I lied there, and once more, he went inside me. It made me feel high, like a rush. It was really fun, and I've missed it so much. We talked for a while. I felt really comfortable, and we just lied and just lying totally naked with him. I love how he makes me feel so mellow. We talked about how he got so mad at me last week. I said, "I'm sorry, I don't want to fight about this. I just brought it up because I want us to be okay." I kissed him and fell asleep on him. We woke up at 8, and like always, we couldn't keep our hands off each other. I was still totally naked and just standing there walking around. Never thought I'd do that in front of anyone. I was so sad to leave him, but I hope we get to hang out again soon. So, yeah, seems we have made up again. Very little conflict resolution. There's an attempt at some, but it seems that at least I didn't write about it, and it comes back to bite me because is this the same day or is this the next day? Let me just check the dates here. That was June. Yeah, this is the same day. I literally write June 6th. Dear Gert, I don't know what's going on with us. Sometimes all we do is fight. It wouldn't bother me so much if I didn't care about you as much as I do. However, since I do care about you more than I have ever cared about anyone in my whole entire life, I guess that means something. What it means is I can't stand to be unsure of us. Like when we fight and we hang up angry, I can't stand it. Usually when this happens, I can't do anything else but mope around and worry. Do you even care about the fact that you do that to me or that I do it to myself? I don't know. It just sucks. Going from the couple everyone else is jealous of and wants to be like to being the couple that fights and bitches all the time. I just wanted to stop. I'm willing to try if you are. I'm so alone right now, and I'm so sorry. Yeah, so I don't know what the fuck happened between these two entries. I don't know. Let's read the next entry. June 7th, the next day. I say, yesterday I cried in the front chair. It was stupid, but I did, and I felt relieved after. Gert came over around 7:30. I was just writing him a letter before he showed up, probably the previous entry. When he got here, though, it seemed senseless to give it to him since he didn't seem mad at me anymore. We sat and talked about Led Zeppelin for nearly 30 minutes before he kissed me. We lied down and ate. And then I wrote in brackets, Dad made us food. I realize how much he really doesn't care what I do lately. I feel like I can get away with anything. Ooh, yikes. So we laid down and talked and had fun. I hope he wasn't faking his smile. Yeah, like unexplained, completely unexplained. The next day I write, today was an okay day. I gave Gert a naked picture I drew of myself. What? I did? Don't remember, but love it. I loved his expression. We joked around all day. But I feel like I didn't see him enough. Yeah, so what an interesting, this whole entry, I'm like, is this important? I guess I'll just read it. So I went to work, came home, called Katie, went to her house, chilled for a while, walked around, sat on the wall, talked about how things change. Then I went to Jay's. It was just Jay. We sat down and talked a bit. I asked him to walk me home. I always have fun with you, he said along the way. We stopped at the bridge and smoked a joint, and then I came home. Okay. Strange. I'm reading ahead a little bit just to see like what the dynamic is. So June 9th, I wear a pair of short white shorts to school and a tube top, which I'm like, I cannot for the life of me envision this outfit. I have to go do volunteer hours after school, and Dad drives me. I end the entry by saying, Dad says he has to talk to me and Genevieve tomorrow after school about something important, and it makes me very nervous. I'll skip ahead to that talk. I came home and had the talk with Dad. He told me, he knows his father never understood him, and he promised himself he wouldn't be that way, so he's going to try to not yell as much. B, he's okay with me smoking dope. C, he's here to help for education costs. And D, he's cool with me and Gert. I'm proud of Dad. It took balls to say all that, and it's really cool of him. I think I have no memory of this, guys. I started this episode by saying my dad hated me and Gert dating. I don't know what preceded this. I don't know, like, I think my dad is having a moment. It's very soon after this that my parents split up. My dad is 50 at this time, 50-ish. Probably I'm gonna say a little bit of like midlife crisis vibes. I'm very surprised at that first point that my dad sat me down and was like, my dad never understood me and I don't want to be that way. I can see it, but at the same time I can't see it. I just think it's really interesting because I'm like, I have no memory of that. But anyways, cool talk. Just a quick note that at this part of the episode, I do mention self-harm, and just wanted to give that as a content note in case you need to go take care of yourself instead of listening. Big love. Okay. The next entry, June 13th, I was so excited for the night. I wanted to be at Gern's early, so I went around 7. I got there and we went straight to his room. I told him I had a surprise for him, which was my hot new green bra and panties. It feels weird to like read these entries about my first sexual experiences because I was so young. And it reads very grown up. Like, again, I'm like, did other people this age do this? Do kids this age do this now? Like, I don't know. I feel very awkward right now. I'm pretty sure I'm red in the face. I'm going to skip ahead. In this entry, yeah, we fuck. He writes me a song and plays it for me. And we get high, we fall asleep, we wake up in each other's arms, we fuck more. I go home I, I go home, hang out with my mom and my sister, go back to Gurnt's at 7 the next night. I say we get fucked up on the way. What did I say? Oh, I fell. I cut up my knee. Okay, I made my way to Gurnt's. I felt ashamed and ugly. No, wait, I need to dive into this. Okay, Saturday. I went to Gurnt's around 7, started walking, got fucked up on the way. Then for some reason, I came home and cut up my knee. I was stoned and it felt good. Okay. Yeah, no memory of self-harm at that age. I wish I gave more details, and I'm glad that I didn't. Sorry guys, this is throwing me off. I write, I don't know why I did it. I'm so fucked up, in big letters. Then I write, I made my way to Gurnt's. I felt ashamed and ugly and was upset. Gurnt had a 26er of Wisers for me and him. Things picked up. I started to get pissed, and so did everyone else. I make a list of events. I say one, Gurnt and his friend got into a fist fight. I have no clue what it was over, but it was just the whiskey going to Gurnt's head. Everybody, I just said everybody got tanked. I don't remember the last time I got this pissed was a phrase said by everybody. I guess I don't really list any other events. I just list the one. Gurnt left somewhere. A bunch of us went to go look for him. I said, God, I was so worried when I couldn't find him. We eventually went inside. Even though I was undressed and laid with him, he was sad. We were both fucked and still drunk, so we lied there and cried until we both fell asleep. We're fucked for each other. What the fuck? This is like crazy. This is I don't have any memory of this day. But yeah, okay, let me process for a friggin' hot minute here. Okay. I am so surprised by that last entry. I gotta be honest and say I'm a little bit shook because obviously I inflicted self-harm on myself, and I didn't know that that's something that I did at that age, or maybe I've just blocked it out. So I have some work to do on that. I've gone ahead and read some more of this diary because I'm like, that's too much of a surprise. Yeah, I don't know what to say other than that. I'm very shocked. I'm very shocked. I'm going to get into the rest. Because there's some juicy nuggets in here, but I just didn't want to gloss over that last bit. On the 15th, there's like this quick entry where I say, I went to Gurnt's after school. The bus ride was weird. I kissed him and he said, "That's the first time you kissed me all day." The rest of the ride was pretty much silent. When we got to his house, I apologized for being a bad girlfriend. We both got upset and I finally said, "I didn't come here to make you feel bad. I came here to make you feel good." Then probably gave him a hand job. I don't know. It's weird. Like, this dynamic is weirder than I thought it was. Okay. Saturday, June 19th. Exams are over. Civics was easy. I had history and math, aced history, flunked math, After my exams, I walked to Gern's house. It was fun being there. We lied around and it was really mellow. Friday, I had metal, said goodbye to everybody. Went back to Gern's. I got there and we played video games. We had dinner with his mom and dad and played more games. I guess they're going away. They're leaving for the weekend, Gert and his family, so I'm gonna have some time on my own, I guess. So it turns out he's not leaving until Saturday morning. Okay. I came home and got ready. So I'm guessing this is Friday, the last day of school, this entry. And my boyfriend's going away for the weekend, so I have kind of free reign. So I came home and got ready. I went to Katie's dad's. Dave and Jason were already there. We chilled for a while and I made everyone laugh. It felt so good seeing Dave. If you remember Dave from a few episodes ago. This was a guy that didn't go to my school but was my age, and he was just fucking hot. He was hot, and I mean, for, that age, and we had a little crush on each other, and now we're hanging out. Okay, so I said we wandered around. We went to Jay's. We went to Katie's mom's. We all shared a birthday joint with Dave. He thanked me for bringing it, and then we went to the community center. I swear he looked so good. Very, it's like, I swear, ... He looked so ... good ... very ... tempting ... Okay, here's the wrench. Gert showed up at the community center. Remember, he's not leaving until tomorrow. He's not leaving town until tomorrow, Yoda. Which was an awkward time. Dave asked, "Who is that?" And all I said was, "Oh, that's Gert. He's the one who plays the guitar." Dun, dun, dun. So for the rest of the night, I ditched Dave because I didn't want Gert to suspect anything was going on. But there was. I don't know, but I just feel pretty awful about it all. I gave Dave a big hug and he followed me to the subdivision. No. I gave Dave a big hug, and he followed me to the subdivision. The hug was warm. Made me feel like I did back in September when he hugged me in the same spot and I kissed him. I hated the way I treated him after Gert got there. I had to be careful not to kiss Gert in front of Dave, and I had to be careful not to flirt with Dave in front of Gert. Oh my God, what a mess. I guess in a way I just miss Dave. I miss being allowed to kiss him. I miss feeling free, ? And it made me wonder what would happen if I decided to be with Dave. I'd have to change my whole life around. I can't, though. I'm part of Gert's family, and he's my best friend. So why do I feel all this way? Like chaos. I feel so anxious just reading that entry. I gotta say, oh, you poor, sweet, angelic, innocent, fucked up little baby. This does come back to bite me. The weekend goes on, and, Gert's away. I write this timeline of mine and Dave's, situationship. So I say July 2003, I wrote in my diary, I met this new guy, Dave, tonight. I really wanted to get to know him. I flirted with him all night, and we eventually ended up secluding ourselves totally and having a really deep conversation. We got high together, and he is the funniest motherfucker I have ever met. That's July 2003. September 2003, he visits our town and we hang out. I say every time I talk to him, I laugh out loud and giggle, and he just totally gets my sense of humor. September 9th, I write, I absolutely love our chemistry. September 20th, we hung out during the fair, felt familiar. He got drunk though and magged out, so I walked him back to where he was staying. He called me a tease, so I kissed him. Didn't take anything out of me. He seemed like he wanted it. I wished it would have lasted longer, but I had to go. I walked away with a huge smile, and it felt so good to be desired. Okay. So, June 22nd, sorry. You. Yesterday, everything was so unpredictable. Gerndt was coming over after his exam, but I didn't have one, so I met him at his locker at 11. I got there 10 minutes early, and so I chilled with Nathan and Katie. Then I saw Gerndt's class walk down the opposite hall. I was so happy to see him. I basically ran up to him. When I got to him, I tried to give him a hug and a kiss, but he was so cold. My mood was totally ruined, and I was worried about spending the whole day with him after he had been like that. We came home, and I basically just sat around until I said, "Why did you look so sad to see me?" He told me that Fraser and Katie had said something that made him feel shitty, that I didn't want to be with him on Friday, and that I was trying to be around Dave. I told him it wasn't true, and that he had to believe me over them. We finally became ourselves again, and both said sorry and decided to go to his house instead. Again, very, very little conflict resolution. I am not owning up to anything. I am not taking accountability for anything. We go back to his house. We make out. He goes down on me. He plays mandolin. I play harmonica. This is so insane. This is like... this is crazy. What freaking world am I living in? I'm 15 fucking years old. Jesus Christ. This journal, I'm like, I want this journal to come to an end because I'm so enraged by the back and forth. It's making my head spin. I'm going to describe what I think was the worst fight we had over fucking nothing. This whole entry is like, my grandparents are over at my house and Gerndt meets them. I don't ask anybody if this is okay, if this is what anyone wants to. He's just there and they're there and they meet and they're wary of him. But then later we all have dinner together and we're all laughing and everything seems easy. My grandparents are visiting and I love spending time with my grandparents, and because I'm dating someone, I basically don't see them for most of their visit. I'm only concerned with like where Gerndt is and where we're going to be hanging out, and that's really sad to me now, but at the time that's what's going on. So after we have dinner with my grandparents, we go to a party. And then he's walking me home, and I have the genius idea to set up a tent in the yard so we can have a sleepover without, like, people knowing, which is pretty clever and also kind of fucked up because, like, my grandparents are staying at my house, and they're a Jehovah's Witness, and we're definitely going to bang in the tent. So on the walk home, I have a surprise. I have a tent set up at the house, and I'm, like, excited. This is what happens on the ride. I say, okay, so we finally left the party and everything just crashed. He started singing to me the song, "It's a Marvelous Night for a Moon Dance." If you know that song, Van Morrison, beautiful song. I laugh and say, "Oh, I can't believe you sang that for me." And he said, "Remember what you got to sing for me?" Earlier in the night, he asked me to sing a Led Zeppelin song, and I promised him I'd do it before the night was over. So now he's looking at his watch and saying, "Oh my God, it's almost 12. You still have time." I say no. He got on his knees and begged me, and I just didn't want to do it. He said just a few simple words, and I just couldn't do it. So we walked in silence all the way to the tent, and I bawled my eyes out until I fell asleep. I woke up in tears. I'm still thinking about what a bad person I am. In the morning, I woke up in tears. I felt so pathetic, out of control, wimpy, all the bad things I don't care to be. He said, "You just broke my heart, Yoda." Like, because I wouldn't sing a song, okay? I felt so awful. I'm sorry for ruining your spirits and your night and your life. He told me he loved me, and that things wouldn't change. Yeah, a lot of the next page is big capital letters, and it says, "You always hurt the ones you love." I'm going to end this diary here because that feels like a very dramatic emo point to end on, and also sad as fuck because that is not true. I don't hurt people I love. And unfortunately, my relationship with this boy reinforced an untrue narrative that I then believed for most of my adult life, was that I am someone who, like, whether I'm trying to or not, I always end up hurting people. Again, not a truth. A beautiful untruth. But it's difficult to read that and experience. This fight I remember. I just remember getting back to the tent and feeling so excited, like seeing what could have been like us just ravaging each other in this tent and having this like romantic gesture going so sour, and just bawling my eyes out for hours, and to the point where when I woke up I was still crying, and he just said, "You broke my heart." So I thought there was going to be like nothing for these like 2 years that we dated, and I was like, I'm going to have to skip ahead, but no, it's juicy. I've only gotten through 3/4 of one journal. So there's more to come. Thank you for coming along for this episode. I know it was a tough one. I, again, am in shock. Yeah, I'm going to need to process a ton from this episode, and maybe you will too. I'm going to lead us out from this episode with a poem. Bear with me. I'm just going to go to like my poetry book, choose a poem. But like I said, thank you so much for coming along on the very wild ride that was this episode. And yeah, stay here for a sec. I'm going to read you a poem. I don't know when I wrote this poem because I didn't date my poems, but this is a pretty good one. It's got a cute little rhyme scheme. It's called Dear Gurnt. I've tried to write a poem for you, but failed because it's too tough. My words don't do you justice. My rhymes just aren't enough. But you gave me some inspiration. You didn't even have to try. Who needs any acid when I've got you to make me high? I've wanted someone like you for so very long. I want to take you to a land that's green and where nothing ever goes wrong. But being anywhere with you is fine, because we don't need money or greed. The Beatles said it best when they said love is all we need. So let's never change, and we can grow old and be hippies forever. You've already made my world in the time we've had together. I trust you with my life, and for me that's really hard to find. But when I'm lying next to you, you fucking blow my mind. And don't ever think I want more than this, because I am truly happy. I've got everything I'll ever need, and you are it exactly.
So let's run off to Jamaica, smoke dope on the sea without a care, and as long as we're together, I'll keep my wicked hippie hair. All I need is all I have, and that, my friend, is you. Your poem meant a lot to me, and I think I love you too. Okay, so beautiful humans, thank you so much for coming on this ride with me. What a bumpy, friggin' turbulent one. Thank you so much for being here. I'll be back in a couple weeks with another episode. I'm going to keep on this wild train we're on. Take good care. And as always, if you are somebody who wants to start journaling, doing morning pages, work on a writing practice, I help writers achieve their writing goals every single day. And you can find all the info at www.dolovewords.com. Big love, everybody.